All right, so the Candlewood. So at the Candlewood, I experienced a heightened degree of paranoia. These people made me think that one of the guys in the group was an IT guy from my former job, a job that I hated for a year and a half. They also made me think that my old asshole boss from that job had brought, a couple of the programmers down or a couple of employees down, and were making fun of me and like spying on me and like look how he's fallen or whatever, look how low he's gotten to. And so they brought me to like kind of a low of like self-esteem. At the same time, also I had applied the miticide just in case I had them, because I still I wasn't sure, and I was like, I'm just going to do this anyway. The other thing made me feel better. I don't think that those things are real, but I was like, I'm just going to do it anyway. So I half thought they were real and half didn't. When I applied the miticide, I I thought, I don't want dead mites on my body. I think that the thought of that is gross. I'm like, I don't want them just to fall off with my dead skin. I was like, I'm going to exfoliate like a motherfucker and get these things, if I do have them, I'm going to get them off me completely, because I just want to be completely like clean, scrub free, like fucking maybe a little bit raw, but I don't care. I unfortunately used a pumice stone, and I used it on my face too, all over my body, instead of like a loofah or a poof. And I kind of I scrubbed most of my eyebrows off. Eyebrows are very important for to look sane and to look normal. If you don't have unless you're Whoopi Goldberg, but if you don't have eyebrows or have thin eyebrows, then people assume that you're a crazy person, and then maybe you're a meth head picker, blah 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 blah. And so like around that time, they had started like making me think that people behind my back were going like nah, like eyebrows, nah. And instead of going, we want your money or we want you dead, they switched to put the meth pipe down, as if like a car was going on the overpass going, put the meth pipe down. And I started to think that this was something that was audible to other people, and I thought maybe they were doing this at other hotels to try to like have fun and freak out the people that might be concerned about that, whether or not they had anything on them, or maybe they thought, maybe people think I had it on me, or they think I'm that way, and it shouldn't matter anyway. But like, I was self-conscious about that, because it certainly did look that way probably, and I wore my cap like pulled down for quite a bit. So I switched rooms in a fit when I thought like people were like, I was like, I just need to switch rooms. I thought people were like talking about me. They also made me think that the staff was spying to the walls, and that the clean lady was like upset about my choice of lifestyle, and that like it upset her. And I'm like, you're spying on me and you're trying to tell me what to do in my room? And and the whole faggot thing came up again. And so it was just like the paranoia and like the self-consciousness on multiple levels, and epithets, and making me think that like people from my past job were like looking at me, and whatever. So I didn't really have a good time there, even though I love the actual type of hotel it is, and I love their amenities. A couple of nights before, one or two nights before Thanksgiving, I just decided to take Max for a walk. Then I got I was trying to cross the northbound IH-35 access road at IH-35 and 71, and in the right lane, someone pulled down the window. And in that past week, I had heard a sound bite. They started building a soundboard, and I don't think this really sounded like any of the Jennifers that I knew, but one of the sound bites was, "Hey Kip, it's Jen. Hey Kip, hi, it's Jen. Hi Kip, hey Kip, it's Jen." And they settled on Jennifer Moore from Capital Credit Union, and other people from Capital Credit Union started appearing on the soundboard, I believe. I think Clay Deal was among them, and I think he was one of the early ones. I think his voice was on there. But in any case, I don't know if it sounded like Jennifer Moore or not. But they somehow settled on it, and I think there's also confusion of they meant to be another Jennifer from another place and from EMDs, and in any case, it landed on her that was allegedly her. And the reason why that's important is that a car had been pulled up. Hold on, Max. And the window got rolled down, and someone put their head out the window. And I don't know if it was a girl or a guy. I think it was a girl. But they claim it was Mikey, a good guy they used to live with. But it was a person, and it looked like they maybe had a projection on their face or something like that, and the lighting, it was getting dark. And they went, hey Kip, it's Jen. And just like the soundbite. And the face actually did kind of look like Jennifer Moore a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's not her, but I'm like, but who is that? And I'm like, I didn't get the license plate stupidly, but hold on, Max, come here. But then I walked again, and I thought the sketchy kid was after me again, because I felt like my cell phone was being pulled out of my pocket. I used that push pull thing. Hold on, Max, come here. And I just felt very panicked. And then I stopped at a gas station. I almost called the cops from there, and I was like, they're not going to do anything. I felt like I could see like a beam. You know, I started thinking I could see the beams again. They started doing that thing again, like they did at Extended Stay America when they got me arrested there. And then I saw a car pull up, and I'm pretty sure Devin, or a person that looked like Devin, pulled up. I wasn't sure if it was him or not. I was dealing with this bullshit that it really had, like, it wasn't a good time to like catch up. He was the guy that had lived with me for a couple months. At my house, and I just thought that was, you know, unusual. I didn't really think too much of it, but that will be significant in a moment. And then I sort of calmed down a little bit. I walked back to the hotel with Max. I saw a marked but barely marked vehicle, an SUV that was like, I think Travis County, or I think it was Travis County, but it might have been APD. It was like one of those big black SUVs. I don't think it was related. It might have not even had those markings on them, because they can make cars look like they're cop cars when they're not. And then I went to bed. And then the next day was Thanksgiving. How much time do I got? Because maybe I'll put it on the first part of it on this one. 7. Okay, yeah. So I'll start on here. Sorry for the lack of professionalism or editing. So the next day, Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, they had made this, in the evening, they had made my room feel unbearable to me. I don't think it was the room itself, because Max seemed fine, but whenever I was in the room, they started making I basically said it felt like a pressure cooker. It felt like my head was about to implode or explode, like there was a lot of pressure on it, like there was heat on it. Maybe that like there were jolts going, like hitting me. I started like I got a frying pan out, and I started like seeing if I could reflect it. I also started seeing like what looked like drag queens, like holograms or projections in the mirrors. Like it looked like from here up, it looked like a drag queen with like done up hair. It might have been like a woman, but it looked very drag queeny to me. Doing like this, and then it would fade out. Or or it might have gone like this, but I think they went, and then it would fade out. And I was like, that's really weird. I would see it in my bathroom mirror. I'm like, I'm not on anything, not that it matters, because I wouldn't hallucinate anyway, but like, I'm sober and I'm sane, and like, I'm seeing that. But I started getting more aggressive. And I think I got to 2 rooms on my floor, and I'd gone to, I think, 2 rooms on the floor below. And I tried not to seem too crazy. I'm sure with the eyebrow thing going on, it didn't look good. But I was trying not to be too aggressive. But I was trying to, I think I was framing it as like a noise complaint, or someone, I was like, I don't know if someone's like bumping up, you know, or like maybe there's a lot of noise coming up through there, but I was like, I don't know which room it's coming from, and I just didn't know if like you had any people that were horsing around, or do you have any like kids here, or teenagers, or, you know, do you think, I mean, I was like trying to frame it like that, or have you seen anyone around here that's been horsing around? And I called the front desk, and I kind of like started becoming a little bit more accusatory with them. I thought they perhaps were in on it, because I felt that way at the previous 2 hotels. I still kind of do, but I can't be for sure about that. But I was like, you know what's going on. And then they eventually called the cops, or I told them to, and they were like, oh, the cops have been called. They'll be up shortly. Okay, so when the cops arrived, there were 2 officers. I explained the eyebrow situation. They seemed okay with that. I even offered to get the prescription for them and to show them the empty container. I third officer arrived, a mental health crisis officer, or the mental health trained officer, and he took over the conversation pretty quickly. I think he rushed over there. I think he seemed to want to like get in there. I don't know if that was abnormal or not. Either because of them or because just of the situation. I don't know if it was my gut or if it was them, but something seemed wrong with him. Again, it could be my perceptions being fucked with, but he seemed to be very sketchy and perhaps in it with them. But again, my perceptions could have been fucked with to the point where it may have seemed almost impossible for him to not know what was going on. So that's why, you know, I am a rational human being and I have to behave even more careful than in most situations because of this nonsense. But I explained the situation. I don't think I mentioned any crazy verbiage. I think I mentioned high frequency noises and mentioned that you can get an app to do that. I did tell him that I was not thinking of hurting myself or anyone else, but I was like, I just want to go to sleep. I want this to end. I think I mentioned, like, I don't mention the voices, but I think I mentioned that people may have passed the door and harassed me. But I don't think I mentioned any of the crazy shit. I don't think I did. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I did. And the reason why I say that is because I was trying to be very careful to frame it as a noise complaint. And or noise harassment, trying to make it seem like maybe it's just some kids fucking around, just like I did earlier, you know, at the Extended Stay America. And because I didn't want any trouble. And I didn't want to sound crazy, obviously. And with the eyebrow thing too, I was very self-conscious about that. He very quickly put me in cuffs. He put me against the door in cuffs. I'll go on a rant on that in the past, but APD, you do not have to cuff every single person. You do not have to cuff their hands behind their back. I never have to be cuffed ever. I'm not a danger to anyone. I've never thrown a punch at anyone in my entire life, and actually I mentioned that to that officer. I don't think he behaved completely properly. I don't think he should have put me in cuffs. And when you do put people in cuffs, the natural inclination is to push down. Even if I push it up, it wants to push down. So you need to stop acting like we are resisting when like we can't help but resist a little bit. And you need to perhaps not surprise us and perhaps just say, hey, why don't we just put you in the back of the cop car and you cooperate with us and we won't put you in cuffs. The cuffs are really just to take us to the cop car and to take us from the cop car to the medical facility or to the jail. It's like, what are they really protecting you from? I mean, it's like, are we going to jump out of the cop car and get you? No, you have a door you have a door between us. We're not going to get you. We're going to, you know, if we're going to dash off, there's probably someone that are going to be like handcuffed, and more than just handcuffs. Okay, so I think you need to start thinking about maybe putting people in the back of the cop car, not in cuffs, or with cuffs in the front, because like that's very uncomfortable to sit down in them, and I didn't need to be put in cuffs. But when he was leading me out, I saw the front desk clerk go like, give me the stink eye. I don't know if that's significant at all. But I noticed that his cop car was parked away from the building. It just seemed odd to me. I was like, why isn't he parked closer? It just seemed weird. And that may be significant in a moment. He put me in the back of the cop car. I don't know if he went in or not. It is very important that I let you know I did not have my ID or my debit card in my pockets or on me. I mentioned that to that officer, and I offered to go get my ID in my room. He chose to run my information from what I gave him verbally, and he seemed fine with that. My ID and my debit card were back to back or front to back or whatever in my hotel room, like I think on a nightstand or something, like, or on the kitchen table, like that. That's very important because it was Thanksgiving, and the next day is the day after Thanksgiving when the banks are closed and a lot of places are closed. I was parked there for some time, and like in the back of the cop car, I noticed that 4 windows started sort of lighting up or whatever, and then the loudspeaker came on again. And at one point in time, I saw him standing outside of the cop car. I think 1 or 2 windows was down, and I was like, does he not hear this? And like the first window looked like a sketch drawing of Cindy from Capital Credit Union. I don't know if they called her that, but she was like, we want your money. And when her eyes opened up, they glowed green dots. And I believe that they were, or they wanted me to believe, that the car might have been parked there because it reflected the lights from the intersection over at 71 and I-35, one of those lights from the access roads. I don't know if the angle works out on that, but they might just want me to claim that as a certainty to then look bad when it's disproven, but It just seems an odd place for the car to be parked, a little bit of ways from the, like, more than like I would expect. I would expect it to be closer, and the angle on that, her own eyes did that multiple times. We want your money. It reflected the green lights on that. I'm not making that up. I wasn't on anything. I had sleep the night before. I had sleep the night before. I wasn't on anything the day before that. So, the second window looked like the guy from the desk clerk guy. I'm not sure if it was exactly him. Again, these were like sort of sketch drawings, outlines of people. It wasn't in color. It was in some sort of weird, like, I don't know, outline that was like, I don't know, maybe iridescent, maybe shimmering or something. I'm not sure. But they were in the windows. And the guy was like, psh, like dazzle or something like that. And they had some sort of thing where each of the 4 windows did something. And like, I don't remember what the other 2 windows did. I'm not making this up. And I'm like, does he not even his peripheral vision of the cop that he's talking to? Do they not see that? I'm like, how do they not know that? Why did he park here? Is he in on it? So that's why I think he's probably in on it. It's very important either way to find that out, because his life was put in jeopardy if he wasn't, because they tried to get me to retaliate against him, which a more unstable person would understandably probably do. Because like, I felt fucked over by this guy. I really do. I really do feel fucked over by this guy. And I know that technically speaking, he might not have known about it. I still think he behaved badly. Then he got in the cop car and he was fiddling with something, and I think he adjusted the mirror, but I'm not sure if he adjusted the mirror, if he was adjusting his computer. But I just felt weird because that whole thing, and I'm like, and that stopped. Oh, and it went from we want your money, and then it went to a scared straight thing. They tried to do a scared straight message. That's important because I've heard that from another person earlier this year, from a friend of a friend. People know about this. The homeless people, the mentally ill, people that are abusing drugs, people that are recreationally using drugs, and perhaps even other people. They know to some subset of this bullshit that's going on. They may not know the full thing or understand it. They all have their own theories of it. Because they've had different experiences with it. And these people pretend to be God, they pretend to be angels, and they pretend to be demons, they pretend to be the police, they pretend to be like the Mexican mafia, they pretend to be other organized crimes people. They pretend to be a federal agency. I don't know who the fuck they are. But I know they're helped by APD and Travis County Sheriff's Department, so they're probably consisting of them. The guy was fiddling with something, and then I looked in the mirror. And if you look at the video, I haven't seen it yet, but if you look at the video, you'll see me doing this a couple times. Both in the drive to the psych ER and then drive away from the psych ER. I saw Devin, or someone that looked like Devin, reflected in that mirror. That's important because I just saw Devin like a day or 2 prior, right? Right. So I'm like, that looks like Devin. Like, what's going on with that? And they try to make me think like, I don't know. I was like, what is the, like, I was flabbergasted. Like, there was a projection, a realistic image of someone that looked just like Devin in the mirror. And that happened like a couple times. And I kept adjusting something. And then I was like, and then he drove, and I was like, sir. And I was like thinking he was like Sketchy, which he very likely could be. He very possibly could not be. I was like, you're making a decision. I was like, that's going down the wrong path or something like that. I was like, I suggest that you return me to my hotel room and do the right thing. I was trying to lecture him at the same time. I don't know if he knew what I was talking about. He seemed very uncomfortable. He didn't respond to me at all. And he seemed to just continue driving. He seemed uncomfortable. I was not spouting anything sort of crazy, although if he didn't know what I was talking about, if he probably was like, why is he lecturing me? But a normal person would probably be like, sir, you're doing the wrong thing. You need to return me back to the hotel room. And he might have should respond to that to like, you know, I wasn't yelling it, but I was speaking loudly and firmly. I was like, sir, you have a choice to make. And I was like, blah, 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 blah. And I was not misbehaving at all. I think what I said was very appropriate, regardless if it was sketchy or not. If it was sketchy, it was very appropriate. If it was not sketchy, I think it was still appropriate. You know, he could have chosen to drive him back, make a better decision. He drove me to the psych ER. I explained and I was still in cuffs on the bench. I explained to the triage nurse about the eyebrows thing. She seemed perfectly fine with it. I was like, you can even call Walgreens. I told that to the doctor that saw me. He seemed fine with it too. He seemed fine. So the triage nurse and the doctor seemed fine with my answers with everything. I was calm, I was collected, and during my wait there, I think when I was waiting for the triage nurse, or maybe after I think it was before I saw the triage nurse, when I was in cuffs, I noticed that my cuffs, and I could have the order of this slightly wrong, but I noticed my wrists started getting shocked where the handcuffs were. I felt like my cuffs were shocking me, or that my wrists were being shocked in the area that my cuffs were touching me. I was like, huh. I was like, that's weird. What's going on? And then I noticed that, like, every time the cop that drove me there, the mental health cop, the blonde guy, every time he turned his ring, my cuffs shocked me. They stayed shocking me until he turned the ring back. Now, this is very important because even though I told this to my sister very explicitly, she still thought I thought they were connected. She's like, there was no magic ring. And I'm like, I don't think they were connected. I don't think they were like trick cuffs, or I do not think they were anything other than ordinary cuffs. I do not think it was anything other than an ordinary ring that was his. I think it was choreographed. Now, whether or not he was aware of that choreographing or syncing to his movements, I am not sure. But at the time, I thought, he's doing that, he's aware of it, and he knows every time he does that, I'm being shocked. I don't know that for sure because they're very good at doing that. It's very good to trick someone into thinking they're in on it when it could be a one-way thing and not a one-way thing and not like a two-way thing, two-way awareness. So that went on for a little bit. I was like, voop, voop. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I looked down, and then, I'd already been shocked by them. I already had, like, jolts go through my body. I looked down, and something that looked like the size of a testicle fell through my gym shorts. Like, literally, like a holographic or a projection of a thing, and went, and it fell to the floor and disappeared. The doctor seemed fine to let me go. Back to the hotel. He did not technically say that to me, but both the triage nurse were fine with the eyebrow explanation. I told them about it. I said, we call Walgreens right now, that's still open, and like they'll verify the prescription. I was like, I had the prescription back at the hotel, but the cops said that they didn't need to see it. The doctor seemed fine with my answers, and the cop seemed very angry with him because I think the cop wanted me admitted there, or to stay there, or something like that. He seemed very angry at the doctor, and the doctor was just like, and like they were talking a little bit where I couldn't hear them. And so like the cop, like, then I was like escorted out of the building, and I was like, are we going back to the hotel? And the guy was like, no, we're going somewhere else. A panic went through me. I think they actually enhanced the panic. And I was like, oh my God, something bad's about to happen. I just been shocked. And like, some other guy opened the door. I don't know if it was a supervisor or whatever, some other cop. And like, I was like, is the camera going? And he was like, yeah, the camera's going. You see that green light? Or you see that light? I think it was green light, but I'm not sure. He was like, that means the camera's going. Because I wanted to make sure the camera was on. And I got in the car. And like, I was scared shitless. I thought I was going to be taken somewhere and beaten, or like, I thought they were in on it with them. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. He basically drove me to St. David South from downtown, which was not too far away from my hotel. All of a sudden when that started happening, I yelled at the window. I was like, put this on YouTube Live, put this on Facebook Live. And I was like, my name is Kerry Kip Lacone Jr., son of Kerry Kip Lacone Sr. And I started listing off his name, my sister's name. I thought, and so as he's driving off, at some point, either immediately or shortly after we let off, like I was getting shocked like a motherfucker. Like I was like, and my legs came in, and I felt the heat come on me. And that whole like 10 or 15 minute drive, I was like, put this on YouTube Live. My name is Kerry Kip Jr. And he took me to St. David South. And near the end of the cop ride, it felt like a heat lamp was on me, and he had some weird tape over the light to make the light like orangey or red. And it felt like it was coming from that, but I'm sure it wasn't. But it felt like I felt the heat lamp before, but this was the most intense I'd ever felt. And sweat started pouring down my face, and my knees came up to my chest, and I was convulsing. And lightning bolts were just going through my body. It's the worst I've ever felt it. And I was like, stop it! And I went on the thing, and I was doing it in the direction I felt the heat thing, because I was sure that he was aware of what was going on. So the cop car stops there at the hospital. I do this. I cool down. I calm down. This one guy opens the door. He's like, can you get out? I'm like, okay. I get out. I cooperate. I'm kind of exhausted. The sweat does dry off, but I go into the, I call it this fake patient room because it had nothing in it, but like kind of an exam table, but not even a full exam table, and like not a normal exam table, and like a little itty bitty counter in the corner. Had no other equipment. It just looked like just a room. Like, why am I here? I was supposed to go back to my hotel room, right? And then there's all these cops in this room around me, and a doctor came in. He was like, how's everyone doing? He didn't ask me any questions. He did not ask me if I was allergic to anything. He did not perform an exam on me. He did not ask me any questions. He did not ask me if I was thinking of hurting myself or someone else. I was not presenting in any way that I was hyper. I was on uppers. Because I wasn't on anything. If anything, I was like exhausted from the electrocution that I just faced. I didn't even need but one cop. I didn't even need one cop with me. It was just like, I didn't need to be there. They grabbed me. I think they strapped me down. They forcibly sedated me. I think they forcibly sedated me and then they strapped me down. I could have ordered that wrong. And then I was told, like, if I behaved myself, they would unstrap me, because I was like, please, 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 please don't strap me down. And they finally agreed to unstrap me if I stayed in the room. And they said, if you try to leave the room, we're gonna strap you down. So I walked around the room and I was like, like this. And like, before I fell asleep and I was walking around because I didn't want to fall asleep, there were 2 or 3 pennies that slid under the door. And I'm like, I would pick it up and I put it on the little counter. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. Someone's just sliding pennies under the door. That's weird. And so I woke up the next day with a caseworker, and I felt utterly violated. I kind of felt raped. I felt like I'd never been forcibly medicated before, and they didn't ask me if I was allergic to anything, and I did have an adverse reaction to that. My nose stuffed up,